Heavy is the head that has to manage all of this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We're now incentivized to buy what we already buy.
Fumbling through college had me building.
I also got some done on the other side.
And that was right around, I would say, May, maybe, right before renewing the lease for this property.
Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I was going to say, I am getting up there and age, I'll tell you what.
Bills paid by other people, life was never this good. I had to step back, knowing that it's...
So I'm the financial freedom guy. I'm the guy who looks at FIRE, financial independence, retire early. I'm the guy who is always talking about living the life that you want, the life that you deserve. And financial freedom looks different for every and anybody. I'm the guy who was able to retire myself at 25. Now I work just to work. I don't work because I have to work. I'm the guy who honestly doesn't really feel good to say that out loud. Like, I work because I want to work and not because I have to work. I almost feel like I have to whisper that because I understand the struggles of today. I understand that not everybody will be able to achieve that. And I understand that not everyone has had my mindset. They're not interested in money. They're not interested in finance. It's not something that we talk about. It's not something that we get involved in for real. But for me, it's always been exciting. Since the day that I saw stocks in Robinhood, when my friend showed me that he was trading penny stocks when I was 18 years old, it just blew my mind. I was so engaged. I was so excited. And so if you subscribe to this channel, if you understand what it feels like to be immersed, if you want to really have that financial freedom and understanding, then definitely subscribe, definitely watch some of the videos that I offer on real estate and on stock market investments, and let's get into it. I went from being broke, and when I say broke, let me really tell you what broke really looks like. Broke is not being able to afford anything growing up. When I say anything, I mean I was in New York City. New York City is the home of materialistic people. What do I mean by that? Everybody has to have the newest Jordans. Everybody has to go out to the corner store right after school and buy that $1 fries and buy drinks and Snapples and all this stuff. I couldn't do any of that, right? I had to just stand there, really talk to nobody, get ready for football practice, and then head home in order to eat. And I was always blessed. The main thing that I was blessed with, my mom would always cook dinner every single night. And so although we didn't have a lot of money, I always had a full stomach when I got home. I could work out, I could play sports, and I knew that when I got home, I didn't have to skimp on what I ate that day and that night. But growing up, we couldn't really afford to get sneakers. So I would go to school, I would have holes in my shoes sometimes. There were years where I had holes in my shoes. It would rain. It rains a lot in New York. I stepped in puddles. I stepped in snow. There was absolutely nothing. I remember having to go to the back of my class and wring out my socks because I couldn't walk around with wet socks the entire school year, right? I mean, the entire school day. And so there were a lot of things that I just thought about. It wasn't like oh my goodness, I can't wait to get out of this situation. In fact, when I played sports, it was to get my mom out of the situations. It was so that I could really bring them all up from these situations. So I was never really just thinking about myself. And when I got into college, I went to college on a Division II scholarship. I did not accept it. I ended up going to JUCO to be with one of my friends. Again, not really thinking about myself, but thinking about my people around me. And so when I was working and going to school, school was free because I was on scholarship. And then I was working. So I understand that not everybody goes to school for free, but also not everybody works 8 years for free as a football player in order to get that scholarship, and didn't work as hard as me. I was working 7 days a week. I was always in the gym. I literally broke my bones in one of my arms and one of my legs. The doctor told me it was from overworking. It's the stress of the muscle. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that was possible. Apparently, most NFL players go through that same process because they just overwork their bones and muscles to the point where it breaks. And I've done that. And it's okay. You can do that. Your muscles will grow back and it'll be just as strong, apparently. But you know it every single day that, hey, this knee was broken. This arm was broken. Like things definitely start to take effect. But I never let that bother me. I probably stunted my growth working out as much as I did. But when I got to college, I couldn't stop working. And when I decided to not play football, which was an impulse decision, and I wish I had not done that, I had to pay for college. I had to pay for room and board when I went away to New Albany and finished my undergrad studies. Room and board was very expensive. It was like $9,000 for 3 months. And that included food, which was about $2,500 for 3 months. Imagine that. I pay about $2,500 a year for food right now with current, in 2024, I pay about $2,500 for food a year. And that's just groceries. Not to talk about like eating out and stuff like that, but just groceries. I spend as much as I spent in 3 months for food at a university. It was unbelievable, I'm telling you. And man, such a scam. I mean, room and board, I couldn't wait to get off campus. Trust me, they forced me to stay on campus for the first year to get acclimated and all that good stuff. Listen, as soon as I was able to get off campus my senior year, I definitely did that. And that really saved my behind because I was really struggling to pay that room and board price. It really wiped away all the savings that I had my first 2 years when I was on a football scholarship. And just in the first two semesters of college in New Albany. So when I got off campus, I was able to actually live. I was able to actually get some bearing behind me, able to actually survive. And I just barely survived, but I did survive. And I worked hard that last year in order to stay out of debt and in order to get ahead. So I didn't really want to go over the struggles of when I was young because that's not really relevant. We all go through struggles when we're young. But I did want to tell you that I worked super hard, even when I was on scholarship, to save money. I didn't just go ahead and spend the money, right? I was finally able to get a job at 18 years old. Guess what I did? I bought me a phone, and it was a $40 Metro PCS phone with a $30 monthly plan. And I kept that phone for about a year and a half until I was sitting down with a girl, because you know girls will always change you. And she said, why do you have this phone? And I said, well, I can always get an Apple phone. That's nothing. And she said, why don't you? And, you know, that was, it wasn't like a shaming thing, but it was something that I actually had to look at myself and say, yeah, why don't I have a decent phone? Someone might say my car is not decent right now. It's paid off. It's a 2013 model. I had 2015s and 2016 model cars, but you might say, why don't you have a 2024 or a 2023 model car? Now, I wouldn't buy anything younger than 2021. Just because I don't want to be hit with so much depreciation on these vehicles. It doesn't make enough financial sense for me to do that. But some might say, why don't you have a 2021 car? You can afford that, so why don't you? And honestly, I wouldn't really have an answer besides I like to save, I like to invest. And right now, even savings accounts are generating almost 5% interest rates on your money. So you can really make a lot of money versus giving it to someone else who makes a lot of money on you. So that's how I'm really looking at it right now. I think that when interest rates go down a bit, and when we're not making as much money in our savings and investment accounts, well, the investments will continue to roll, but then I might think about buying a newer vehicle. But for now, I don't really see the point in doing that. So one thing that you would learn so far is that I was super keen on not only saving money, but making sure that I stayed out of debt. So when I graduated college, I had $200 to my name. I had to take a summer class for Spanish because I didn't take it seriously at the time. And would you believe that right now, I've been learning Spanish for the last, I would like to say 8 months, nonstop. I think I'm on a 177-day streak. You tell me how many months that is right now. 177-day streak. All right, that's a lot of that's a lot of days. But I've been learning Spanish for a while now because that's actually something that I'm interested in learning. But I had to take an extra class, pay $700 out of pocket, buy textbooks, all that stuff, because I decided to fool around with Spanish when I was transitioning to the University of Albany. And so I didn't pass that class when I was in my sophomore year, and that haunted me my senior year. I did the graduation, I did everything else, but I still had to come back and take a Spanish class in order to fully graduate. That was shameful. That took 3 months away from my working, 3 months away from my education, 3 months away from what I could have been doing in order to be successful. So yeah, you probably wish you had that time back. You probably wish you didn't have to spend an additional $700. You probably wish, but you know, you learn and you grow. So we all make mistakes. I talked about the 2 mistakes that I made in my life in a previous video, so I won't hash on that again. But now we're at a point where I am 22 years old. I have now graduated college debt-free. I technically had to pay for college only for 2 years of my life. Now in New York, when you are low income like I was, I could have really went to a CUNY school like Medgar Evers College or even NYU. I believe it's called NYU. Not the big college, but like I think you have a lot of CUNY schools. So just Google CUNY schools and you'll know what I'm talking about. And I could have went there for free. In fact, I could have been enrolled in the EOP program where I could have also gotten free books. And so there was a lot of benefits that I just was not aware of, that if I had took advantage of, college would have also been such a breeze. I was so focused on my mom not paying for school, not knowing that school was already paying for itself. Had I just known about the opportunities that were available to me. Am I happy that I graduated from the University of Albany? Absolutely. Because my sophomore year, I actually transferred from my football JUCO to a CUNY school, and I decided that I would go and get a better education, and it was better at the University of Albany. It was bigger classrooms, bigger projectors, bigger everything, and just the way that they taught, it was no longer like a high school. It was actually a college, and I truly enjoyed my time at the University of Albany. The parties, the living off campus, the being independent. There were some up and downs. There was some lonely days finally being on my own. But I will say that that's an experience that I cherish, and it really does go by very quickly. I wish I had 4 years and not 2 years, but financially, I'm happy for the 2 years. So once I graduated, I don't think I've talked about this one before, but I went back to New York. I had $200 to my name. I bought me a U-Haul. I drove all the way down to New York. My brother drove me back once I got the U-Haul unpacked. And then what did we do? Well, I went to work. So I was working at Pizza Hut 8 hours a week. I was working at White Castle 32 hours a week. And then I think I was doing like Uber on the side, Uber Eats or something else, because I just wasn't getting enough hours. I was only working 40 hours a week. Pizza Hut wasn't really paying me. I was riding a bike in order to get to Pizza Hut because I was just like, I'm not going to spend money to get to Pizza Hut. They only giving me 8 hours, and I have management experience. I've worked at Domino's. Why even hire me just to give me 8 hours? Like off the bat, they were only giving me 8 hours. I have enough experience to literally be a general manager. I just graduated college and you're only giving me 8 hours. Like, who can work on that? And I accepted the job, but because I had just gotten back. Then you have White Castle giving me 32 hours. And I believe I was seeing a paycheck of like $200, $300 a week. And I'm like, how am I working 32 hours, but I'm only getting $300 a week? And they were taking out money for food costs, when you eat your lunch. There was another, obviously you have taxes, and then there was another cost that I was just not aware of. And I'm like, I didn't even know you could take out money for this. There's no other restaurant that I've ever worked at since that takes out money for food. And I don't know why people work at White Castle when they do such things like that. And if you need to do that in order to stay in business, if you need to treat your employees like that, you shouldn't do it at all. But I guess that's one way to say, you know what, everybody's going to pay for food. Everybody's going to eat food, so there's no need to eat on the job, because you'll get that food eventually, and you'll just ring it up on the register. And I think people were definitely paying more than full price, because once you ring that thing up, listen, whether you ring it up or not, they're taking it out of that check. And my check was very, very small, and I was just like, what am I doing for 32 hours a week? So finally, I was able to get a job at Blaze Pizza. It was 2 hours away, taking a bus. 2 hours away. Every single day, I would get up, I would go there. I was a manager at Blaze Pizza, and I was making about $17.50 an hour. Finally, that's a job that I was making about $35,000 a year. Still living in my mom's place, and it had been about a month and a half, maybe 2 months. Okay, so now I'm at a point where I'm managing a team. I'm still looking for a salary job. Amazon calls me and they say, okay, you can start in January, but it's I think it's September. And so we still have a lot of time to go before January. And so I'm just saving money. I'm getting to work. There was one day that I was late by like 10 minutes, and my district manager was actually in the store. And they were like, why are you late? Why are you as a manager showing up late? And they say, where do you live that you're showing up late? And I said, I live in Brooklyn, New York, on the east side by Linden Plaza. And they were like, Brooklyn? You live in Brooklyn? And then they looked at my resume, they Googled my address. They said, this guy lives 2 hours away. And honestly, I expected them to still harp on me. I expected them to treat me poorly, because that's what you see growing up. But they were really in shock. They were really in shock that I lived 2 hours away and I was only late once, and by 10 minutes. And you know, I have to rely on different modes of transportation. I have to rely on 2 buses. I have to rely on 2 trains just to get to work. So if any of those things are slow for any reason, that really limits my ability to be timely and be a professional. So of course I'm leaving early. Of course I'm leaving 30 minutes early. Of course I'm trying to be on time for everything I do. But I had to rely on 4 different modes of transportation to get to where I'm going. And listen, as a manager, you're doing 10-hour shifts. So that means I had to take an hour to get ready, 2 hours to get to work. That's already 3 hours. 10-hour shift, that's 13 hours. 2 hours to get home, that's 15 hours, right? There's 24 hours in a day. So that means I have 9 hours. How many hours am I sleeping? It is just hilarious what I used to do. But I'm not saying that you have to drive 2 hours or even take a bus 2 hours to work. All I'm saying is that when you do find a job that you can work and make money efficiently, go for it and do it. It was better for me to go 2 hours away than to work at White Castle for for 32 hours and not make anything, or to go to Pizza Hut for 8 hours a week and not make anything whatsoever. And so it was just insanely depressing. I'm working those 2 jobs. I'd rather work the one that pays me what I deserved at the time. So when I was able to get the job at Amazon, I notified them, I let them know, I gave them more than 2 weeks heads up. And they were all not necessarily excited for me. They were like, oh, okay, this is a manager who is moving on, and he has a bachelor's degree, so it makes sense. And they were even shocked that I was going to be an area manager, but I wasn't. I know what I'm capable of, and I know how I can articulate myself, and I know that I can lead a team. You obviously made me a manager here, so I'm not someone who is incapable of leading. And so, you know, I just took the strides to to better myself. And so Amazon offered me a job in New Jersey. I ended up taking the job in Columbus, Ohio. And the reason why I took the job in Columbus, Ohio was because I already had my uncle living here, and he believed that I could get a transfer, and he was right. I was able to get a transfer. When I got to Columbus, Ohio, I lived with my uncle for exactly 30 days. Now, that's not a round of applause statement or anything like that. To be honest, he definitely helped me a lot with finding the vehicle that I would drive, which I think was most important, because not having a vehicle would have been very detrimental. One thing that I do want to point out along the way is that traveling to Columbus, Ohio versus New Jersey gave me a travel package from Amazon. So that travel package was a little under $10,000, which I also put towards the vehicle that I had, which I could have purchased in cash. But because my uncle wanted me to work on my credit, I decided to take out a small loan of about $8,000 on the vehicle, which I ended up paying off in about 4 months because I just hate debt. And so, I mean, I could have paid it off the first month, but I was making incremental payments, and in about 4 months or 6 months or so, it's been a while, it's 2020, I ended up paying the whole thing off. Now that I have a paid off car and I'm living on my own in this luxury apartment that I'm paying about $975 a month for, not including utilities, my brother comes and lives with me from New York because it's COVID, and you know, he can do his schooling from home. So he starts working at Home Depot. I'm working at Amazon. I actually love the company because, you know, you can get lonely being somewhere by yourself. And so, you know, life started to change. Things started to get better, and I started to feel more connected. So I'm just working. Not worried about women, not worried about anything like that. But women do start to come when you're an area manager, when you're managing 100+ people. Those things start to take effect. I'm going to parties every other night or so. And so, yeah, you start to really know people. And once I decided to leave Amazon, they gave me a package again. That package, I wasn't necessarily thinking about it as something to use to invest. I was already investing. I was investing in my 401k with Amazon. I was investing in my regular stock market accounts. I was saving money for a rainy day, like an emergency fund. And obviously my car was paid off. So I was now looking for a new thing. Amazon was only paying me $50,000 a year. I say only, I understand that some people may make less. Completely understand. But then I got a job opportunity at Tim Hortons. Now I talked about how horrible my manager was at Tim Hortons. This is actually the only manager that I ever had that was truly horrible. He was a district manager, and he had lied and said, hey, where's the money in the store that's missing? And turns out the money was never missing. He had cashed it and put it and gave it to the right people. He didn't steal the money, but he made me feel as though the money was missing and that I should continue to look for it. And basically, we keep the money in the safe. We're supposed to turn it in every single night. But because it's only me and my managers that have the code to the safe, there was one day that I left 5 checks in the safe. That's 5 days worth of checks in the safe. And when I finally went to turn it in, because obviously you don't want a big stack of money sitting in the safe, somebody's going to do something with that if they have some ideas. So I go and I turn all that money into the bank. I'm cashing it in, and I bring back 5 receipts. So I have 5 receipts. I'm thinking that's all the money. My district manager comes pick up the receipts, and he texts me on my phone, hey, you're missing 1 check. I'm like, no, I'm not. I cashed everything out. He's like, you're missing 1 check. And so I go back to the office that day. I go back to the restaurant that day, and I'm looking all over the place. Where's this money? Where's this money? It has to be in here. I'm not finding it. I'm lifting things up, searching everywhere. I didn't want to ask the management team about it, and so I don't. But there was one day, I'll be completely honest with you all. Nothing's worse than a woman snoring, right? So one day, I just finished working 14 days straight. I had to ask my district manager's boss for a day off because I couldn't work 15 days straight. So I asked for a day off. My district manager actually texts me and says, "Hey, thought you were coming to the store today." I said, "Nope, I've been working 15 days straight." And he said, "Oh, but we need you in the store." I said, "No, I asked for a day off." He said, "Who do you ask?" I asked so and so. And then that was the end of that conversation. I wasn't going to work 15 days straight. And today, because I have financial freedom, I would never do that. Some of you may be looking at me and saying, this guy worked 14 days straight with no days off. This guy had a manager who literally lied about not having the money when he had it the whole time. Yes, I didn't know even after the 14 days that he had already had the money. So another thing is I'm working, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm probably tired, stressed out. I'm even driving some associates home because, it's dangerous, especially at night. And, I'm opening stores for managers because they're forgetting their keys, they're forgetting all these other things. And, it was just a wreck. It was just a wreck. Even on my days off, I had to come and check on the store. Why? Because managers just couldn't function. And I really don't blame the management team at Tim Hortons because they're paid $13 an hour and you're managers. In 2021, $13 an hour and you're managers in 2021 for $13 an hour. Chipotle was paying associates $15 an hour and they were right next door. I was even shocked that people were still wanting to be managers at this location. Like, why would you work here? Why? And, so there was really I was holding people accountable. I was telling people you can't clock in early. You can't do X, Y, and Z. You can't do all these things. But why would you even work here to begin with? Like, you're not making no money. Now, obviously, I wouldn't say that. I needed people to work, and I needed a staff. I needed a team. But, imagine not paying anyone peanuts, and then I still can't get a day off. So you were also paying me peanuts, essentially. I wasn't making any money for real. Did I make more than I was making at Amazon? Yes. But with the hours that I was putting in, I was definitely making less. Okay? Definitely making less. So although it felt good to get a pay raise, I was definitely trading my time for money. So with that being said, I was very desperate to buy a house. And so as soon as I got the job at Tim Hortons, it's actually when I was ready to close on a home. And I got into contract immediately. I closed on the house as quickly as I possibly could. When I got into that house, I was just so tired working at Tim Hortons that I literally couldn't even put my bed together. When I would come home, I would just go straight to sleep. I would come home and I would go straight to sleep. So the girl that I was talking to, she thought that I was maybe messing with other women. And let's be real, a lot of women want a young, successful young man. So they were coming, but I had nobody over at my house. The only people who had ever stepped foot into my house was family members. I was just that tired. I was just so tired that I could not do anything. Does that really matter that that's the truth? No, it doesn't really matter. All they think about is themselves. And so one day I wake up at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, about to open the store, and all my tires are flat. And I go to the gas station, pump them up, and I see they're flat. And I text my manager, I'm like, listen, I can't go to the store today. Now, could I have Ubered and got to the store? Absolutely. But what did he ask me to do? He asked me to leave my car where it was at, which is the gas station, and to go to the store and open the store. And if I don't open the store, he may have to look for a new general manager. And I said, well, I guess you're going to have to look for a new general manager. And I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and it was actually a blessing in disguise. But I had just purchased a home that time, and I had not yet made a mortgage payment, and I was really low on funds because I had put everything into buying the house. But I was like, you know what? You're going to have to find somebody else because I'm not going in. And I went, dropped the keys off after I fixed my car tires. I went to the store, got some groceries, stocked the fridge, and then guess what? The girl was at my house screaming and doing all this stuff. She ended up not coming in because I didn't allow it. And then she finally drove off and went home. And I fixed my bed. I finally had time to fix my bed because I wasn't at work. And I don't even know if I ate that day. I was just so stressed out, but so grateful. So grateful that I was done with that job. And then I started looking for a new opportunity, and that's when I joined the Army. All right, so I got my first house. I joined the Army. I have no debt because I graduated college debt free. So now I went from being broke to being a area manager at Amazon to being a restaurant manager at Tim Hortons. I'm still working too hard. If you get my drift, I'm still putting in so much time for money. I'm still demanding myself to do all this physical labor. And when we get to the Army, same thing applies. This is the first time when my bachelor's degree actually mattered since Amazon, really. And I was an E4 or a specialist, whatever you want to call it. While I'm in the Army, I'm studying licensed practical nursing. I'm studying to be an LPN. I finished basic training. I go to advanced training. So I went from Oklahoma to Houston to San Antonio, Texas. As I'm training there, I meet some people that I can engage with. Finally, I'm starting to lose weight. I'm starting to lose all that fat from that stress and from all that bad food that I've been eating. And so I go from 230 pounds to 196 pounds. And that took about 10 months to get there. While I was in the Army, there was a lot of things that happened. I was a little too cocky, wasn't really focused. I understood that I knew biology, and so I was like a straight shot for licensed practical nursing. And, this is a point in my life where you're supposed to take things more seriously. You're supposed to go after what you want. But I allowed myself to get too big-headed. Eventually, although I was very respected and although I was treated very nicely, actually, compared to most of my constituents, I decided to ask to be let go. Now, this is not something that is commonly allowed within the military, and definitely not something that is going to be approved because they don't have to let you go. But as I was serving my time, you understand that, okay, this person is not going to re-enlist. This person is not really engaged in what we're doing. I'm not someone who would say, oh, I'm not going to do anything or I'm not going to work. That's not what I did, and that's not what I would advise anyone to do who may be in the Army. But I just politely asked, hey, this is not for me. I was making a lot more money outside. Now, it's not all about money. Obviously, you're serving your country and you're doing a good service. But at the same time, let's be real. Those who are in the military, not everybody is there to serve. Not everybody is as serious as I am as well. Right? So when we take our job seriously, I truly do take my job seriously. And some people are just there to have a good time. Some people are just there to get away from the struggles of life. And to be honest, a lot of people are there because they're trying to get away from something. And I was trying to get away from something. I was trying to get away from a lot of things. Not just one person, but there was a lot of things that I was trying to get away from. And with being a new homeowner, I think that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, because what I also wanted to get away from was the fact of feeling tied to a home. Like I couldn't get away, like I couldn't do nothing with it. And so when I was able to rent that out, get a property manager, and leave Columbus, it made me feel like I could actually do something with myself. I'm not tied down to one location. I can move if I want to move. And that was so liberating all in itself, knowing that things are taken care of even without me there. So I definitely needed that experience. When I got back to Columbus, I bought my second property. I lived with one of my other uncles for exactly 29 days. It was supposed to be 28, but we were waiting on one of my paychecks to clear just so that I can buy my next property. I think it took me a total of 5 days to identify the property that I wanted, and then to get into closing right after that. So 5 days of being back home, I ended up getting into contract. And so I wasted absolutely no time. I knew that I wanted to get on my feet and do what I needed to do. I was able to get a restaurant job as a general manager, and I worked that job. And it was a good job. It was actually a mom and pop business. I was working for the son, really, really nice guy. His name was Ryan, and I just had a blast. I was working 50 hours a week. They did start to cut my hours back as things started to slow down, although they guaranteed me 50 hours a week. You know how it is when you have an owner-operator in the business. They'll eventually start to cut you back. But what I didn't realize is that they also hired a second general manager, and I was so confused by that. I'm like, why do you have two general managers? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So you're paying two general managers. It really didn't make any sense to me, especially when you cut my hours down to about 45 hours a week. It didn't make any sense to have a GM. And I'm a GM as well. Like, you're paying me a decent amount of money. So I guess they wasn't paying me enough. But I really did like the job. And when I got an opportunity to work for Chase Bank, now that I had the second house, it took me about 10 months just to furnish the home appropriately. I finally wasn't in a position to where I had to work 14 days a week straight before I could go to sleep. No, I was able to really save money. I was really able to invest. After I got the house furnished, it took about $10,000 in furnishing in the first 4 to 5 months before I was finally able to start saving money. And then I started to save. The first $10,000 was saved very, very quickly because I was in survival mode. It was the emergency fund depleted because I had to spend all this money on the furniture. But while I was doing that, within the first 5 to 6 months, I also had roommates. This time, I made sure to get roommates. I didn't get roommates in the first property because I went straight to the Army, but this time I did. So when I got into this house, within the first month, I already had a roommate. It was a Spanish guy from Texas, surprisingly, who was working on the new Google facility out here. And then I had another roommate, can't even remember who that one was. And, they started to help out with the mortgage. And so now when I'm buying the furniture, when I'm furnishing up the place, when I'm getting things situated, it was a lot more easier. It was a lot easier. It didn't even take 12 months before I was on my feet. And by October, I was actually ready to purchase another property. So at that point, I had at least $20,000 to $30,000 in savings, not including my investments in my stock market and things of that nature. So remember, I had 401k playing with Amazon. I rolled that over. I had stocks with my individual investment account that I continued to invest in no matter what, never stopped. And so I invested in that every single week, every single month, every single year. And so all those stocks, my stocks were piling up. Probably had at least 20,000 in the stock market back then in 2021. So at this point, October of 2021, I should have been worth $250,000 net worth. $250,000 in 2021. That's before appreciation of the houses. That's before anything. And now that I'm working at Chase, I was now making $65,000 a year as a lending officer, lending advisor. And so as I'm investing, I'm also investing in my 401k. I believe Chase has a 3% match. I'm still collecting money from rents, still collecting rent from the other property as well. And I'm just investing more and saving more. Series I bond, I believe I started to invest in that in 2023. I did not buy property in 2022 or 2023, and I really, really should have. But I was just watching the markets, thinking interest rates would go down, and I completely missed the boat. That so sucks. It so sucks. But I was able to invest more. I was able to save more. There was a period of about 3 months where I was spending like $2,000 a month just because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going out on a shopping spree. I was spending money. Now I know how people can spend money. But one day I had to just stop myself on that 4th month, and I said, yo, I haven't saved any money for the last 3 months. I haven't gotten better in the last 3 months. I haven't invested more in the last 3 months. And so as I was driving to work, I think I was still working at Chase that time. And Chase loves to party. So as I was going to work for that 4th month, I was like, we're not going to keep doing this. We're not going to keep working and then be broke at the end of it. Now, was I broke? No, I had money in my savings. I had money in my investments. But I just want to let you know that even I was able to fall into that pit for about 4 months straight, where all I did was spend money and I had nothing to show for it at the end of 4 months. Wasted 4 months, just like that. But I needed to. I remember when I would reward myself with Popeyes every Friday. Obviously, I was still going to parties every single weekend. And I guess I was just shopping on Amazon. Amazon was a big spender for me. Like, you had to take my phone out of my hands, and I had nobody to do that. So, yeah, I was spending a lot of money. So I was super, super grateful to just be driving to work and have that conscious decision of I'm not doing that. And so how did I continue to make money when I'm not buying real estate? Well, I will say not having to pay the mortgage with not only the house hacking that I was doing in the primary residence with 2 tenants, but also having a tenant in the other property that I have that was cash flowing about $600 a month, would offset utility costs and things of that nature. So that $65,000 that I'm making at Chase, I can literally just invest it all and save it all. And then, you do get injured in the military. I got injured. I literally hurt my entire shoulder, scraped my entire shoulder. I have like this big black spot on my shoulder, unfortunately. And it is unfortunate. It's very unsightly. But that was contributing to military disability. Had I just fell regularly in the outside world, I would not get compensated for that. But because it was during military training, because it wouldn't have happened otherwise when you've fallen on these rocks and gravel and all this stuff, literally ripped up my arms and all that stuff. Yeah, man, it sucked. It sucked. I was just trying to protect my face, and thankfully I did. I'm just glad it was my shoulder and not my face. So, I did everything to protect myself. My hands were all bloody. My shoulder was all bloody. And I just was able to turn that face away and get that shoulder so that I can just, the face has been saved, y'all. It was saved. So I'm super grateful, just how my life turned out, because just think about it. With all the work that I was putting in, with all the stuff that I was doing, there was so many things that could have happened. So many times you had to be lucky, right? Nobody wants to really hire someone with a big scar on their face. You can't see the one on my shoulder, right? So I'm not even sure which shoulder it is anymore. I think it's this one that I fell on. I don't know which one I turned to. But hey, you gotta have those reflexes if you want to save how you look, okay? So yeah, I think that was a big thing. So if you live with your parents, that's also a great opportunity, because if you don't have much bills to pay, you can still do technically what I did. You're just not gaining equity from housing. You're not gaining that mortgage paid down, and you're not taking advantage of where rates currently are and how young you are to continue to pay them down. But the stock market and compound interest is a wonder, and the ninth wonder of the world, which I truly love and enjoy. I still have stocks with Chase. I have money in my individual 401k now, and I also have money in my, obviously, my individual brokerage account for regular stocks. And then in 2023, I ended up making a Series I bond, which was at 9.96%. Then it dropped down to about 7-something%, and it might be at like 5% right now. Put $10,000 in that real quick. because I mean, at 9% rates, what is that, like $900 a year or something like that on 10 grand? Not really bad, not too bad. I'm not sure how it shakes up, but it was a decent amount. And then, adding to the property, so building the property up, building the aesthetics, improving the property. So that's exactly what I did. I improved the property. I got decent prices on the home, improved the backyard. It was a tax write-off, so I really didn't really spend any money. And then continuing to save, continuing to invest over the next 3 years, with compound interest, with growth being phenomenal. You guys saw in one of my how to 2x your portfolio, how I literally made 3 times more than the stock market average year over year. So continuing to do that, continuing to invest, having multiple streams of income. So not only rental property income, but also military income, also your W-2 income, also the Series I bonds income. At the time, I had CD accounts as well, but now I just have savings accounts because they're so high right now. So you're taking advantage of inflation. And I'm at a point where, I can literally just sit back, watch the market, and say, hey, do I want to buy this property right now for $300,000, $400,000? Sure, I can definitely do that. And then growing a YouTube channel, growing your music channel, growing your Rumble channel. I make money from doing these contents and creating these contents. Maybe not on YouTube, but on Rumble I do. And on DistroKid as my streaming service for my music, I also do. So that's how I got to my first million in 2023. Just by being diligent, just by staying sound, just by continuing to work those same habits. So when I was able to calculate where I am in terms of net worth in 2024, when I was sitting down doing an interview with Chi Chi recently, go ahead and watch that if you haven't already. We were able to break down exactly how much I make, exactly how much I earn, why I took a step back, and why I now work where I work and do what I do is because not only do I not have to work, but because my investments pay for my lifestyle, I can work and just literally throw everything into savings and investing as I have been doing. And so, it's just been a blessing. It's not done yet. The work is not done yet. I just traveled to Colombia recently. And if I want to continue to live like that, yeah, there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done, and I'm super, super excited to do that work. So, like I said, just continue to work on history, continue to work on what you need to know in order to be successful in life, and you'll eventually get there. One of my lights turned off, so I do apologize about that, and I believe it's because my laptop had died. So on the ring light. So I do apologize about that, y'all. But yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. How to go from broke to somewhat successful at a young age. I'm only 26. Let me know what you want to know more about, what investments maybe I did, how I got to where I am. How is it like maybe house hacking and living with other people? Because honestly, I was against it at first. I didn't want to house hack. I didn't want to live with others. But eventually, I just saw the benefit just outweighing the cons, and I decided to make that move. Will I do that at 35, 36, 37? Probably not. But right now, it is something that I am doing, and I can continue to see myself doing it for the foreseeable future. So, I mean, that it is what it is. Now, there's some things that I've done that you may not want to do, and that's okay. We're all not meant to do the same things. But if you did find some things that you can take away from this that you are interested in doing and that you might want to learn more about, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll be more than happy to share my wisdom, my guidance, and my resources with you all. So if you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day at 8 a.m. daily on YouTube and on Rumble, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.